Hello there. Welcome back to Tales from Tosche Station. How you guys been? Everyone having a good couple weeks? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Awesome. What I love to hear. So this is the new format, about every 2 weeks. I might go back to every week here soon, but for now it's about every 2 weeks. So this week I want to talk about my favorite Legends character, Kyle Katarn, and specifically how he is in Disney canon. However, he's been split into two characters, Cal Kestis and Cassian Andor. Why do I think that? Well, I'll explain. But before we get into it, hey Chewie, do me a favor. Punch this thing. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it, people. So let's cast our minds back to the acquisition of Star Wars by Disney. So when that happened, everybody, I mean everyone, was freaking out because not only were we going to get three new movies, but everyone who played all the Legends games, read all the books, all that stuff, they were excited for a few reasons. She, the two chief ones among them is the fact that they were going to bring in Thrawn and that Kyle Katarn was also going to get brought in. One of those two things actually already happened. Thrawn's canon. Got the canon treatment just because he's that good of a character. Kyle Katarn, however, uh his character, in my opinion, got cut in half. By that, I mean Cal Kestis and Cassian Andor. But Jacob, those are two completely different characters. How is that? Well, I'm going to tell you. So with Kyle Katarn, his character arc, and if you want a good breakdown of his character arc, I did uh, a breakdown very early on. I think it's only on my Spotify. I'll link it down below in the comments so you guys can listen to it. But Kyle's story is very similar to Luke's, except he, instead of being a farm boy that joins the rebellion, he's a farm boy that joins the Empire to start out with. And he, at first, during the Dark Forces game, the first one, he's just, it's a, so Dark Forces, for those that don't know, it's essentially Star Wars Doom. That's what it is. And in the first mission of that game, you're playing as Kyle, and you're tasked to steal the plans for the Death Star. And it's not until the second game where Kyle starts to awaken his force powers. And I'm going to take this in two directions. I'm going to talk about how Kyle's characteristics in Cassian and Kyle's characteristics in Cal. So let me start out with everybody's favorite rebel, Cassian Andor. So they essentially give Kyle's rebel storyline to Cassian. He steals the Death Star plans when we first see him. That's all we know. He just steals the Death Star plans. That's all we know. And you can even say that. Well, no, I'll save that for a later video. That thought for a later video. Cassian is very much like Kyle in Dark Forces. He's he's very level headed, very strong willed, and a really good shot. Doesn't really take crap from anybody. Doesn't really trust people, and he's a really damn good pilot. And also, Cassian quite literally has Kyle's blaster, the one that he uses in season 1 and season 2, up until the last episode, is quite literally Kyle Katarn's blaster. Is like number one blaster that he uses, and I would say that Kyle's just scavenger and not scavenger, smuggler and just like gun for hire type was Cassian, and then that was the idea for Cassian in Rogue One, and then the Andor show fleshed that out completely. Which I mean, Andor, I said it during my breakdown of Andor season 2. I think Andor might be the best Star Wars we've gotten out of Disney, like season 1 and 2. Just it's the best that they've made. I think the second and third best things that Disney has made is the Tales of series. Every single one of those seasons have been spectacular, and Bad Batch. But to end the Cassian and Kyle comparison, I think that they did that intentionally because people wanted a Kyle Katarn-esque character in Star Wars, and they threw us that bone with Cassian, and they fleshed him out, and he's become a beloved character in his own right. And now, let me talk about the second character in this equation. Everyone's favorite ginger Jedi, Cal Kestis. So this one is pretty spot on. They literally took Kyle's storyline of him being a Jedi and gave it to Cal. I mean, everything from they reorder a few things. Cal in the first game, Cal cuts himself off from the Force because of Order 66. And throughout the course of the first game, he has to relearn every skill that he knew. All of it. Every single skill he knew, he had to relearn it and reconnect with the Force. Same thing that Kyle does after he attempts to kill Mara Jade. He turns to the dark side, and this is like I think this is the first time that this is the first time he's fallen to the dark side, and he just told Luke, "Hey, look, man, take my saber. I'm good. I'm gonna just drop out of the Jedi Order. I can't do this. The dark side's too much of a temptation." And he goes back to being a smuggler. And during Jedi Outcast, the first half of the game, you're just a smuggler. It's literally Dark Forces for the first quarter of the game until you bump into Dasan. He beats the brakes off of you and steals your girlfriend, and then you have to go back to Yavin. Well, no, you take a trip to the Valley of the Jedi, get a Jedi power boost. I'll say it like that. Some Jedi supplements for those who understand steroid references. And then he goes off to Yavin to get his lightsaber back. And throughout the course of Jedi Outcast, Kyle has to relearn all of his abilities from scratch. At the same time, he's fighting Jedi Reborn from the Valley of the Jedi, and it culminates in him taking down Dasan, rescuing his girlfriend, and becoming a master alongside Luke in his Jedi Order. And from that point forward, Kyle Katarn is literally Luke's right hand man, and he's Luke's battle master. He's probably the only other guy in the Order that could fight Luke one-on-one and beat him. That's how good Kyle Katarn is, force and saber skills. But before I go on a tangent on how amazing Kyle Katarn is, let me switch back to Cal. So going into the second game, it's a few years later. Cal Kestis, he's much more confident. The first level of the game. The cool thing about Jedi Survivor is at the start of the game, most games you literally have to start from scratch. Like, let's say, like I'll use God of War 2, PlayStation 2 version as a example. So in that game, you start out as Kratos, as the God of War. He's souped up. He's got all of his powers from the last game. He is a tank. And then Zeus stabs him in the chest with the Blade of Olympus, throws him down to Hades, and now he's stripped of all of his godly powers, and now Kratos has to work his way out of hell and has to regain all of his abilities. That does not happen to Cal. In most games, the second game, if you're the protagonist again, you have to build up from scratch. Not in the second game. It's literally a few years later, and Cal still has it. All of his abilities and everything that you got from the first game, you build on in the second game. And by the time Cal falls to the dark side in the game, he is a truck. I mean, he's a damn tank. So Jeddah gets attacked. Master Cordova gets killed. And Seer, Junda, takes on Vader. Damn near kills him. But she's ultimately killed in the process. Bode escapes. And Cal goes on a revenge mission. He is so blinded by rage and hate that once he hunts Bode down, he turns to the dark side. That mission where you finally turn to the dark side is the powers. The thing that the developers did when that turn happens, and I found myself doing this. It's like it was exactly what Yoda says that the dark side is. It's quick, easy, very easy to access, very useful in a fight. And every time that I use that, the dark side power up meter, the crazy thing that the developers did, you felt Cal's desperation to get and use that dark side power to get his revenge. And that's the same thing kind of happens to Kyle. He loses himself completely to the dark side and almost kills Mara Jade. Like within seconds, and then he snaps out of it, and that's when he gives up being a Jedi. And the same thing happens to Cal. He doesn't give up being a Jedi. We don't know where that third. We don't know the third part of the story yet. Something that I would like to see. I've said this before to a couple of my friends. What I would like to see is a few years later, a few years pass, and in this third game, very early on, Cal Kestis runs into the Ghost Crew, and this is a newly blinded Kanan. He's still learning his blindness, but he's got enough to where, I mean, he can handle himself. And Cal is still so broken and so angry that when him and Kanan meet, I mean, they're old friends. They grew up in the temple together. They were the closest of friends, or at least that's what I'm hoping that they do. And then you have to fight Kanan. Like, you have to fight him. And it's going to be one of those fights where you, as the player, you don't want to fight. You don't. This is Kanan Jarrus, one of the greatest Jedi ever. You don't want to fight him. I mean, he's your best friend, or at least he was. And in this fight, Kanan beats the brakes off of Cal so bad that turns him back to the light. That's at least what I would like to see. Because where we leave off at the end of Survivor, Cal is broken and he is isolated. He has pushed everybody away because of what happened. And that's the similarities that I find with him and Kyle. Cal Kestis gets Kyle's broken Jedi path and how he builds back up to it. So I think in this third game, we need to see Cal build back into being a Jedi and learn how to become a complete and full Jedi, just like Kyle does. And yeah, that's why I think that we've already gotten Cal Kestis in canon. They've just split his character up. I do think if they were to do it, if they were to somehow bring him in, it would make sense. They could still do it to where he's part of the Bothan spy team that got the plans to the rebels for return. But then where is he during sequels and all this other stuff? I would still like to see him in canon just because he's got such a connection to Luke and he's so vital to Luke's order. But I don't think Disney's ever going to go that route, especially with what Mark Hamill has recently said about him not wanting to come back as Luke. So yeah, I really do think that they split the Kyle Katarn character into two and made Cassian and Cal. Great. If that's what they did, that's a great move because we've gotten two completely fleshed out characters, or not completely fleshed out in Cal's case. His story is still being written, but we've gotten Cassian, who's a fan favorite now, and one of the best stories that we've gotten in Disney Star Wars. So yeah, that's all I've got this week, guys. And speaking of Cassian Andor, next time, the next video is going to be a discussion between me and a friend of the channel. Who that friend is, you guys are just going to tune in and find out. Me and him are going to talk about Dedramiro and her obsession with Luthen, and how that obsession caused the fall of the Empire. I think you guys are going to like that one. So until next time, may the Force be with you.